Hey everyone, I'm rather incoherent. Rotation is coming up, Festival of Legends is about to drop, and today I'll be talking about Hunter, what it gets from Festival of Legends, what it loses and what it gains from rotation, and how I think its meta decks are going to change as rotation occurs, and what new meta decks might emerge. And a too long didn't watch version of that is going to be, it looks bleak to me. Because Hunter feels very warrior-esque, and that it seems to have a lot of different unfinished archetypes that don't fit together well, and I'm not sure that any of them function well. Let's start with the Arrowsmith, because the Naga Spell Hunter archetype is a thing that existed before and wasn't really viable. This is a really good minion. This is the sort of thing that can help out that archetype. It's a 2-mana 2/3, which is fine stats on a good effect, and its effect is after you cast a spell, deal 1 damage to the lowest health enemy, so it's different Knife Juggler, and it's a much better way for Knife Juggler to work, but casting a whole lot of spells is kind of difficult. Thankfully, they come with the tools to make your own spells. First, we got the 1-mana Bunch of Bananas. This is a 3-use spell, and each one is just a banana. It gives +1/+1, and that's fine. If you have a bunch of things that need you to trigger spell effects to get value, then this is actually worth running, and Arrowsmith is a great example of that. Then, additionally, we have Barrel of Monkeys, which, it just summons Silverbark Patriarch straight up, which is hilarious power creep. This is probably the best example of why power creep isn't necessarily bad, because no one ever played this card. It doesn't matter that this is stronger than it, and I'm not convinced it's even good on its own. Obviously, it can be scary. If your opponent misses their 1-drop, you can summon a 1/4 on 2, and then use Bunch of Bananas to just take board control and never give it up from there. But realistically, this is just fine. It's a spell that you can cast over and over again. It's helpful in that it creates a wall of taunt if you need Control Hunter to stabilize, and God knows Control Hunter struggles to stabilize, especially with its current losses in rotation. But this whole pack of spells feels neat to me, and interesting more than it feels good. These things that I'm doing over and over again, giving +1/+1 or summoning Silverback Patriarchs, they're not actually strong, so I'm very worried about building my deck around them. Now, this is where I would like to say it's okay because the payoff makes it good enough. 4-mana 4/2 weapon, Jungle Jammer, Death Rattle, summon a random 1-cost beast, cast spells while equipped to improve. So how big does your beast have to get before this makes the suboptimal cards you're running good enough to justify playing Spell Hunter? Well, if you get it all the way to 9, it's guaranteed to summon King Crush, so that's an interesting concept, and with recastable spells, it's theoretically doable. I did the math on my planned Spell Hunter deck before I scrapped the whole concept, and I found out that it would take a minimum of 14 mana for me to get this to King Crush levels. That's not great. That's turn 5, 6, and 7 all spamming out spells, and like, if you can do that and have it work as a curve and the plays make sense, it wouldn't be too bad. But getting this to King Crush is unreasonable. Realistically, if there's a deck where this is good, it's not some crazy combo deck where you stack it up to become King Crush on a stick. Instead, it's just going to be, you play this, it gets you value, you're fighting for board with it, you have a lot of spells in your deck. I can imagine situations where you have a hand that allows you to play for this to turn into King Crush, and that is an out that you should be aware of, but it shouldn't be the expectation for the card going in. And just like the rest of this Spell Hunter package, I feel like it might be the best thing Hunter's got, but it feels neat and interesting more than strong to me. I don't feel good about Spell Hunter. And unfortunately, that's where the support for Spell Hunter stops. From here, we're going straight into Big Hunter, although I will mention, Mr. Mukla's here. And Mr. Mukla isn't every kind of Hunter card. This guy's just nuts. Or I guess I should say, this guy's just bananas. 6-mana 10/10 Rush Beast? He doesn't even have a downside. Fill your opponent's hand with bananas. Mill their next card. Like, yeah, theoretically, you could use the bananas against you if their hand is full, like a control deck is wont to do. They don't even get much banana. But 2, you just played a 10/10 Rush and you're a Hunter. Surely you have board control. What are they going to play the banana on? This card doesn't have a downside. This card is just like, what's the meme? It's this. This is what Mr. Mukla is. Hunter has no viable decks. Just slap a Mr. Mukla on that bad boy. It'll probably be fine. It won't. But it'll be a good card in otherwise bad decks, and Mr. Mukla is the best thing going for Hunter currently. That card is nuts. Moving off of Mr. Mukla, we have a Control Hunter package. Harmonica Soloist isn't a Control Hunter card because it's good, it's because you can never run a card that requires you to have no minions at 3 in any tempo or mid-range deck, so it just has to be a control card. That doesn't mean it fits into Control Hunter. It's still a 3-mana 4/2 Discover a Secret, which even without the conditional text wouldn't have been that strong. It's just sort of an underwhelming card that's really, really not helping Hunter fix its issues. And only of tangential relation to the Big Hunter Beast package is the 1-mana 1/3 Thornmantle Musician. Finale, so if you play it and it's the last mana you spent, which has a 1-drop, should always be doable. The next beast you summon gets +1/+1. This would be really good in a tempo beast deck, in a deck where you're actually fighting for board. In a big beast, this isn't a card you want, like at all. You don't care if Mr. Mukla's an 11/11, what you really care is if your 2-drop has +1/+1 compared to where it normally would be. That would be a lot better. So Thornmantle Musician's a really good 1-drop, and if there are any good Hunter decks, I kind of expect them to be running this card, because a good Hunter deck traditionally has been a fast Hunter deck, and usually there's some sort of beast package involved. Which brings us to the sadness that is Big Beast Hunter. 3 cards this expansion go towards it, and man, I don't know what to say about Big Dreams. It's appropriately named because it feels optimistic. I said that 4 mana do nothing is okay in Druid. Druid is a class that ramps up to get extra mana and has an archetype that by definition is going to help it stabilize, and that deck has cards in it that also help it to stabilize in the early game from the current expansion. Big Dreams did not come with any more stabilization. It sort of did. It came with 3 Silverback Patriarchs in a barrel. We're not memeing, that's your defensive tool for the expansion, and good luck. So Big Dreams is a 5 mana do nothing. That's worse than a 4 mana do nothing. It doesn't just give you 3 5/5s, you have to actually get the beast in your hand and then you can play this. It's conditional 5 mana do nothing. And then in 2 turns, you're going to summon, presumably, the Banjosaur. If you're running Big Dreams and Big Hunter, presumably you play Banjosaur, 10 mana, 5/6 rush, whenever this attacks, draw a beast and gain its stats. So you want this to be drawing Mr. Mukla, to be drawing King Crush, to be drawing Hydrolodon. And realistically, if Banjosaur were a 7 mana 10/10 rush battlecry draw a beast, this package would be on the board. We'd be considering this. But instead, it's a combo with a 5 mana card that skips your turn, and on its own, it's a 10 mana card that doesn't have tradable, and it's just so janky and so slow, and it requires you to skip turn 5 if you drew right. Does our payoff legendary spell fix this? No, our payoff legendary spell flakes out. It's the best part of the lot because it's tradable, so you can switch it for a card that actually does something before turn 7. And what this will do is it'll resurrect every beast that costs 5 or more, and this would be devastating with some of the old stuff Hunter had, like the bears. Those go away with Alterac Valley, so those huge 5/6 taunts that you love so much aren't getting resurrected by this. Instead, you're resurrecting Hydrolodons, Banjosaurs, King Crushes, Muklas. This'll clear the shit out of a board, don't get me wrong, but unless you found a way to duplicate King Crush, this isn't really doing much to close out the game. Like, if this is your plan, you instantly lose to Blood Death Knight, right? Like, you literally cannot win that matchup. And that's not fair to say that because there's an auto-lose matchup, a deck is bad, but generally speaking, it's a bad sign when you have a hard auto-loss to any viable anti-aggro deck that includes cards in it that say, clear the board, don't care about stats. This feels like a deck that lacks the tools to stabilize, that lacks the payoff to meaningfully encourage trying to find those tools in the first place. And then in addition, it's in Hunter, so its hero power is useless and it's fundamentally conflicted. Big Beast feels like it's missing so many pieces to me. Coming over to the core set rotation, Hunter's rotating 5 cards out. They're losing Houndmaster Shaw, which is fine, who cares? They're losing Snake Trap, which didn't really see any play, same with Dire Frenzy. Cloaked Huntress is sad to go for me, but I don't think it was seeing any play anyway. And Springpaw is going, but it's not the biggest deal. But coming over to the new set, you can see they're getting Jeweled Macaw, which has been buffed to 2 health as a replacement, and that is really not bad at all. That's completely fine. They're getting some better secrets with Cat Trick and Wandering Monster. They're getting Dragonbane, which is just a really, really good card. I'm glad to see that going in their pool, but it's still nothing incredible, nothing that synergizes with all the packages we just talked about rather. And Doggy Biscuit, which is fantastic, won't be rotating. Instead, it'll be going into the core set as the tradable card type becomes evergreen. Additionally, there are a couple of buffs for Hunter. Savannah Highmane has 1 more attack now. Woo. Now it can get Big Game Hunter. I'm not even convinced this is actually a meaningful buff. Not that anyone's running Big Game Hunter, but still. And as I said earlier, Jeweled Macaw is going up to 2 health, so not too many meaningful buffs there. Coming over to the meta decks that are listed on Vicious Syndicate, you can see we have Quest Hunter. The quest is going away. That's pretty much the whole discussion. Additionally, if you just go through the list, they're losing a lot more than just the quest. They're losing literally their entire top end of Multicaster, Barak, Beaststalker. That's all gone. So yeah, the win condition of this deck is gone. It's fundamentally no longer able to exist in Standard. Then we come over to Big Beast Hunter, which theoretically is something we would love to keep playing, but you can see its top end includes Mountain Bears and Wing Commander Ickman, which are both out. It includes Faithful Companions, which is gone, the Rat King and Pet Collector, which are gone, Imported Tarantula, gone, Vandar Stormpike, gone. The entire idea of this deck is to cheat out and double the stats of big minions, and most of our big minions are gone, and we can still double their stats, but we can't cheat them out. And that's pretty damn rough. This deck is basically gone in its current state as well, which leaves us with the best performing Hunter deck anyway, Hydralodon Spitter Hunter. Here's the issue. Stormpike Battle Ram is kind of a really important card. Death Rattle, draw a beast, and reduce its cost by 2 is nuts, especially when you're building your deck around a small number of really important beasts, and that's gone. Additionally, one of our only 1-drops is Iron Deep Trog, which is going away. For our 2-drops, we have Bloodseeker, very important early weapon for a Shock Spitter deck, and it's just gone without a replacement. Brann, which is doubling the Shock Spitters, it's really, really good, is gone. So this deck is losing a lot, and Beastalker Tavish is perhaps the most important thing that it loses, and it affects every single variant of Hunter that we've been talking about, with Big Beast Hunter, and Shock Spitter Hunter, and Spell Hunter. All of these decks that are a little bit slower really want a hero that gives them 5 health, because there's no healing in the class, and gives them the ability to discover improved explosive trap to give them a board clear if they're getting rushed down, and gives them an insane hero power that gives them great value in the late game. And that's gone for all Hunters. So is your big taunt that would help you stabilize. Hunter gets gutted with rotation. All 3 of these decks basically don't work, and this is one of the videos where I'm going to be talking about a class and I'm not going to show you a deck I've built. Because when I was doing Death Knight and I showed you Murloc combo Cagehead Shaman, that was cool. That was worth talking about. Because even though it was garbage, it was interesting garbage that helped you to understand where I was coming from and how I think decks might evolve. When I was making the Naga Hunter deck I had in Hearthstone's deck builder to show you, I realized, why would I waste my time and your time showing you a bad version of a bad deck that will never amount to anything? I don't know what Hunter is going to look like when this expansion hits, but the outlook looks grim for me. I have no faith in any version of Hunter. And I hope I'm wrong. If you have a differing opinion, I'd love to hear why you think Hunter is able to do well in the new meta, what you think they got out of it, what decks you think that were not previously being played but were close to being played might have gotten a lot of buff. I just don't see Naga Hunter being there. I think it's the best thing they've got, and I don't think it's gonna be good at all. I think it's gonna be like a fringe tier 3 deck at best. Anyways, while I call myself rather incoherent, I think today I might have been negative Nancy. If you enjoyed this video, like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff really does help the channel grow, and I'll see you in the next one.